So, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Today, we're going to be talking about Sage distribution and manufacturing operations. And today's topic, we're actually going to be covering the look, feel, and navigation of SDMO. My name is Tara Schenkel, and I will be your presenter for today. And go ahead and slide. All right, so SDMO or Stage Distribution and Manufacturing Operations, or SDMO as we affectionately refer to it for short, is really a platform that meets the needs of small and mid-sized manufacturers and distributors that are really looking to really drive their business transformation and modernize their manufacturing and operations processes with a built-in solution. SDMO is completely out in the cloud. So there's no servers, no workstations. It's all cloud native, which really allows manufacturers and distributors to work from anywhere at any time. And go ahead and change. So with SDMO, we do have the ability to do multi-site operations. And so for multi-site, what we mean by this is typically you may have one warehouse, you may have multiple warehouses, you may have multiple companies with multiple warehouses. And so with SDMO, you are able to manage all of those operations under one umbrella. And so again, since this application was built in the cloud day one, it is really leveraging all that the internet has to provide. It's 100% service-based architecture. It's got a native web API framework, which means that anyone can talk to it for anything. It does inventory, stock control, warehouse and automation. It also has resource management, procurement and suppliers, manufacturing and shop floor control, sales and customers, distribution and fulfillment, and really is designed for operational leaders really looking for that powerful solution. Next slide, please. And so with Sage Distribution and Manufacturing Operations, or SDMO, we talked about the multi-site operations, which really gives you a centralized control. So it's allowing you to streamline operations for multiple sites while also maintaining a centralized control and visibility. Resource optimization, because you have visibility to all your different locations, you can efficiently allocate resources, manage inventory, and coordinate activities across multiple locations. Real-time monitoring. So with SDMO, everything's done real-time. There's no posting processes. So as I interact and do things in Sage SDMO, it's all real-time. And then if you choose to integrate SDMO with Sage Intacct, you also have the leverage and power of Sage Intacct behind it. So the multi-company financial reporting, consolidated reporting, and the compliance and governance that you get with SDMO, those are, or with Sage Intacct, that's all built in. Now, for full transparency, SDMO can be built or used with other accounting applications like QuickBooks, Sage 50 or Sage 100, but in those integrations, it's a flat file integration as opposed to a direct connect. Next slide, please. And so with Sage SDMO and Sage Intacct, they're really independent, but not connected. And so what I mean by that is on the left-hand side, you'll see with SDMO, I've got the ability to buy, put away, move and store and sell and distribute inventory, make and assemble inventory, do items and BOMs, and also do costing. And with Intacct, I'm really leveraging the financial arm. So things like AP, AR, doing cash receipts, general ledger, all of those things are really managed inside the Sage Intacct application. So if you're looking for a system that can function together, but also inherently have segregations, SDMO is a great platform. Traditionally, most financial individuals don't necessarily want their inventory and warehousing staff inside their accounting application. And so with SDMO, you're able to separate the two apart. So the accounting staff can really stay in their Sage Intacct world. The inventory and distribution and manufacturing guys can really stay in SDMO and really not have to go into Sage Intacct. So it allows for a strong segregation of duties. Next slide, please. And so with SDMO, you are able to effectively manage your workflow. So irrespective of your position within an organization, you've got the flexibility to really harness the core capabilities listed below, but also the ability to tailor your dashboard to really suit your role on any given day. So customers, orders and shipments, work order planning and tracking, bill of materials, resource costing, supplier order returns, stock management, shipment, stock control. All of these things are things you can see and manage right in SDMO and really efficiently own your responsibilities without having to run a lot of reports or toggle through a lot of screens. SDMO has all of this right at the click of a button. Next slide, please. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right on into our demo. So we're gonna switch the screen over to me. Okay, so now we're on the Sage Intacct home screen. And first thing you'll see here is when you log into Sage Intacct, you have the ability to log immediately into your dashboards. And so first thing I just wanna mention is that with the way the dashboards work, it's all user-based security. And what that means is that the users will only be allowed to see information on their dashboards that we've granted them access to. And so with this particular user that I'm logged in as, I have full rights to view pretty much all of the information in SDMO. Now, in regards to the dashboards, you'll see up at the top, I do have different dashboards that I can set up. So in my particular role at this company, my responsibility is to really oversee all of the process flows of the various locations, both from the distribution and manufacturing side. So my dashboards are built to really give me visibility to the things that I'm responsible for managing. And so what makes SDMO so flexible is that it really allows you to tailor your dashboards for the things that you need to see in order to do your jobs. And so you'll see here on my distribution dashboard, I have up at the top, these are called KPI widgets. And what these are key metrics that I've determined that I want to be tracking for my organization. So things like month to date sales, year to date sales, deal size trends and new customers. Now, obviously, if we're in the real world and these are my KPIs, I'd be a little concerned. But we're in demo land, so it's okay. You'll also see here, I do have what's called visual process maps. And so with visual process maps, it really walks you through the proper workflow of a process. And so in this case, the visual map that I have here, this is a sales process. So it just allows me to see from start to finish, how would I create a customer, a sales order, ship it, go to invoicing? And so what makes SCMO super intuitive and easy to use is with the visual process maps, I'm not spending my time trying to figure out what the workflow needs to be. The visual process map will lay it out for me. And all of these you see here are hyperlinks. So if I were to click on the customer, it actually takes me over to my customer list. So now I'm going to go back to home. The other type of widgets that you have are what are referred to as our action or actionable items widgets. So in my case, one of the things I'm responsible for is managing orders to deliver and shipments that have gone out that need to be invoiced. And so with these actionable widgets, it allows me to see what orders are maybe in progress, which ones are pending, are they ready to be delivered? If I'm in charge of invoicing, it's allowing me to see what's been shipped and possibly ready to invoice out. And with your actionable widgets, you do have the ability to use either the table or the card view. And so depending on how much information you want to see, you'll see here this particular view has just a little bit more than the card view. Also, again, if you see anything in green and underlined, that's a hyperlink. So now if I were to click on this order, it'll actually take me over to that particular order to view. And so again, notice I'm moving around from the dashboards without really having to click a whole lot of screens or try to figure out where I need to go. So it's extremely intuitive to use. So now I'm going to head over to the manufacturing dashboard. And so for manufacturing, there's different things I need to look at than what I need to look at from the distribution side. So some KPIs I'm interested in for manufacturing might be quantity produced, production cost percentage, my cost trends, what's the reason why things were returned from production, orders to deliver, because maybe I need to know what's getting ready, what work orders I need to be looking at. And if you're really managing work order, and I really love this view, it's a work order delay view. So it's showing me what work orders are delayed and by how much. So if my responsibility is to get work orders out in a timely manner, this would be a flag for me to work with my production person to figure out why these work orders are in a delayed mode. And again, because this is an actionable widget, you'll see I have my table view and I have my card view. And if I need to pull up a work order, I just click on the hyperlink for the work order number. SDMO will take me over to the particular work order so I can view it. And then I can go back to my home screen. So again, really when you're talking about dashboards, a couple of key things to highlight. For those of you coming from Sage 50, 100, or QuickBooks, one of the real strengths of SDMO is the ability to see multiple warehouses and multiple locations. And when I say locations, not just warehouses, but also companies, all in one view. And so with these dashboards, I really can see multiple facilities at one time. So it's a huge strength for SDMO because I'm not logging in and out of companies. I'm not running reports. I'm not formatting and dumping stuff into Excel. The main metrics that I need to run my business, it's all here right on the dashboards. And so, if you're currently using a QuickBooks, Sage 100, or Sage 50 solution, you'll find that this kind of dashboarding is really just not something that's available. And so it really makes SDMO stand out as a key product of choice. And so now I'm going to go ahead and head over to my toolbar. And I just wanted to show, if you're not sure what the different widgets are or the different areas on the toolbar, you can just click on each icon and say SDMO will tell you which one it is. But you can also just use the maximize down at the bottom. Now, one thing I really love about SDMO is that the menus are only 2 layers deep. And what I mean by that is if we were to click on items, you'll see it drops out. I've got my items. I've got my item data. Notice this stays out until I'm done with my selections. If we head over to stock, you'll see I've got valuation, stock count, reordering. So again, just the ability to easily move around in the software, not a lot of clicks. I'm not getting lost in different screens. So it really makes it efficient to move around and know where you are in the software really at any time. And so now I'm going to head over to sales, and I'm going to head over to sales order. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about the business transaction view and how that works. And so in SDMO, you have the ability to filter at anything on any time. So in these screens here, you can customize them, you can filter. The filters are sticky. And what I mean by that is that for this particular view, the last time I was in here, I told it to only show me quotes. And so maybe if I'm a salesperson and quoting is what I do regularly, well, that might be the view I want to stick with. But let's say I want to toggle this back to all open statuses. And so now what this will do is actually load all of the orders that I have. And so within your business transactions view, you have the ability to customize the view for information you may want to look at. So one thing I may be interested in is the customer's PO number. And I want to point out when you add the field, you'll notice it comes in, but it's a little bit scrunched up. And so if I click on here and say auto size this column, SDMO will automatically size the column to the field. Now, if I decide, hey, I don't want a field in here, I have the ability to either hide it or move it. So for the customer PO number, maybe I decide I want to move it next to my sales site. Or, maybe I decide, what, customer PO number is just too long. I really don't need to see it here. So notice I'm just using my panel here to add columns, and I'm using these dots to move things up and down. So it's very intuitive and easy to use. You can create different views for different things. So not only can you customize the views, but you can save off different views for things you might want to do and export the data to Excel. Just key rule with the views, what you see is what you get. So whatever you have up on your view is what's going to flow out and into Excel spreadsheet. So now I'm just going to go ahead and click on my quote that I have here. And one thing I just want to talk about is when sales orders are loading, and this is true for work orders and any transaction type in SDMO, is you always have your panel off to the side. So a real strength of SDMO is that when I'm working in a sales order, I have the ability to see all the other sales orders that could be in the system at the same time. In a lot of other systems that we work with, traditionally you open the sales order and this view actually disappears. So you're not able to see it, and you can also filter. And so here I might say, again, if I'm a salesperson, maybe I'm working on quotes for today. That's my job. And so I only want to look at the sales orders that are quotes. But now if I need to maneuver, I can easily just click on which ones I want to look at. Maybe I'm updating information. I can easily toggle. Um, and so you'll see it's very easy to move around. Now I can also use my up and down bars here to get from one record to the next. And so this is a huge feature because honestly, in other accounting packages that we support, even the ability just to be in the window but still see all the existing orders, it's probably one of the #1 feature requests we get for our software, and SDMO has it right out of the gates. If I'm done working on sales orders, I can come back to my filter and hit all open statuses. So now maybe I want to work on a sales order. And so in terms of the structure of your data entry screen, so the top part here, this is what's known as our header information. So things like your site, sell to customer, your number, your order date, number of items, the expected delivery. And one thing I just want to point out, so for the site, that's traditionally the warehouse or the location that you're going to be shipping from. And again, a strength of SDMO is you can have sales orders be done for multiple sites all in the same data entry screen. So it's one site per order. And so over here, you'll see I do have these 3 ellipses. These are my more actions button. And so here, this really allows me to see what other things I can do with this order. So I can email it, create a pro forma invoice for those of you who ship internationally. You'll also see I have these at the line area. So I have the ability to update price, allocate stock. And what I truly love about SDMO is that you have the fields that are most pertinent to your order entry screen. But if I click my open line panel, I have all sorts of additional information right at the click of a button. And this is super powerful because in other systems, you really do find yourself closing in and out of windows, launching multiple windows. And so with SDMO, it's really giving you that streamlined ability to locate information that you need and have it here all at a click of a button. So things like pricing, delivery, progress, if you have notes at the line level, both for customer, internal and external, you have the ability to have all of that right here, all without having to leave the sales order to do it. So I'm going to close out here. And so now you'll see down at the bottom, this is my details information. So this is information that's specific to this sales order. So at the lines level, you'll see I've got the item number, the description, unit price. If I click on information, this is where I'd have things like transaction currency, PO number, if it's been allocated or not, my sold to address. Again, you'll see there's my more actions button where I have the ability to replace or edit the address. This tab I have is all my shipping information related to this order. Financial is terms and bill to customer, my totals, and then my notes. And so you'll see each tab has a set purpose. Down at the bottom, you'll see I have the ability to close the order, which means actually close and cancel the order, or create a shipment, which means I'm ready to actually send it out. All right, so any questions on the sales order? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close out of here. And now I wanna just spend a little bit of time talking about the online help. And so if I hit up here in the upper right, you'll see there's this question mark icon. And when I click on this, this is Sage Distribution and Manufacturing Operations Online Help. And I have to say it really really is bar none in terms of the amount of help it can give you. So first and foremost, at any point you can go to the online help and just search for a specific topic. So I'm going to go generic and do one called item. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff related to items, but it gives me an overview. I've got hyperlinks to additional information. I get walked through how to create the items. It has a series over here of other item-specific information and shortcuts to things on the page. So right within the online help, I'm able to learn a lot about the screen or the area that I'm looking for, again, without having to read through a whole manual. All of the help is online, so it's easy to find. And if I like one, I can print it out or I can expand it. And so now some other features of help is the release notes. And so with SDMO, there is a new release every single month. And so Sage is committed to continually enhancing the features of the SDMO product. So every month there's a release that's done. It's automatically introduced into the ecosystem. So you get it automatically. You just have to decide if you want to turn features on or off. And then what they'll do is they'll document in here the version of the release and the release notes that went with it. So things like bug fixes, improvements, new features, that's all bulleted out here. If there's an area of particular concern to you, so maybe I'm interested in manufacturing, I can click on the manufacturing link and it shows me, hey, sub-assemblies with standard cost calculation, that's new and that's introduced. And so I'm able to see here all the new releases. And if I'm really interested, I can also do product highlights. And what product highlights is a nice little demo of the new feature. So every time there's a new feature, there's a product highlight that goes with it. And when I click on Discover New Features, it'll actually walk me through with a video what the new feature is, how it works, what screen it shows up on an SDMO. When I click Next, it allows me to go to the next new feature. So I'm just moving through these bubbles here. And so this is, for people who've been on accounting software for a long time, getting new features is something that you usually have to go through an expensive upgrade. There's downtime. Sometimes things don't work correctly. With SDMO, you won't have any of that. The new features are rolled out seamlessly to the product. You just have to decide whether you want to use it or not. And there's always links. If there is documentation, you can find the links right within here. So extremely powerful. And then feature tours. So if you're newer to SDMO, maybe you want to learn more about a particular area, you can do the product features tour. So maybe I need to know how to put customers on and off credit hold. And so this screen by screen view will actually walk me through how to do that. And so any questions on the online help? All right, so now we're going to go ahead and just talk a little bit about accessing information, distributing and exporting, and all the ways to get data out of SDMO. And so now I'm going to head back over to sales and I'm going to go to sales invoice. And so first thing I just want to talk through is when I'm in the sales invoicing area and I want to send an invoice out within SDMO, I always have the ability to email any document out. And so in this case, maybe this particular customer has asked for a copy. Now notice I'm actually typing the information in. There was already a contact in here, Nathan, but maybe I'm requesting this as well. And so you'll see I can fill this in. I can also just say select the bill to customer contact, but I'm gonna hit send. And this will actually send a copy of this email over to my inbox so that I have it, and it'll tell me that the invoice was sent. So as you can see, it's really intuitive and easy to get this information out of SDMO. And so now I'm just gonna head back to my invoicing view here for a moment and just wanna talk about some of the export functionality. So inside of SDMO, I'm looking at all of the open invoices. And so one of my responsibilities might be to provide information based on a particular sales site or location. So it might be that maybe accounting's asking me some questions about, some invoices that went out for a particular site. And so I can come in here and I can segment based on a particular site, hit export, export to Excel, And when I open this file in Excel, it'll have the records that I've chosen. And so if you have people who are not in the SDMO ecosystem, they still have the ability to get the data. You can use these export features to do this. You can also use this too if you need to send it in a CSV format. SDMO supports that as well. Now, one great example I like to use is related to really inventory and stock inquiries. So if you're going through a physical count, you have a warehouse that's getting ready for a physical, you want to be able to send them like a count worksheet. And so you'll see under stock inquiry, I already have a filter preset for RSA Limited. And in this case, RSA Limited is getting ready to do a physical count or a cycle count, and they want to have the information out so that they can view it. And so now you see I'm going to hit export to Excel. And when I open this up, I'll have my spreadsheet with my quantity on hand, quantity allocated. And so I can use this information as a great cycle count or physical count sheet. And what's great with this is that you can also use this and format it to import back into SDMO once the count has been done. So it's a super powerful feature, very easy to use. And so one that I truly find to be great. All right. And so now I'm going to head back over to my sales item briefly. And one thing I did want to just share real quick is the ability to print documents. And so back in my sales order invoice, anywhere you see this printer icon, that's the ability to print a document out. Now, because I'm in the invoice screen, the document I'm going to have here is an invoice, but you can also print picking sheets, packing lists, sales orders, work tickets. And so you'll see in here, this is my view, and these forms can be customized. And notice I can print it, I can save it. There's a link to it that gets saved off as part of SDMO. So that's how you can print documentation out. So very simple and very easy to use. Okay. All right, so now that we've really covered the look and feel of SDMO, I'm actually gonna turn the baton back over to Miss Heather here. And Heather, if you can bring the slides back up for us, because I wanted to spend a few minutes just talking about the Sage Intacct integration. Wonderful, thank you. And so these next two slides, I'm going to just talk about how SDMO and Sage Intacct work together. So in the first tab, you'll see here, this first slide, we talk about master data. Okay, so things like items, customers, those will traditionally start in SDMO and get sent over to Intacct. Now, if you have items and customers in Intacct already, there is a tool that you can use to sync them up that first time. Now, things like payment terms, GL accounts, journal entries, and tax details, those will traditionally be set up in Intacct and sent over to SDMO using smart events. And so there's a mapping process that you do go through to map Intacct terms to SDMO terms. And then of course you have your dimension. So you do have the ability to use Sage Intacct's dimensions and have those map over into SDMO for reporting. And just one thing I wanted to mention is that currently custom dimensions are not available for integration between the products, but it is something that's on the product roadmap. Heather, if you can switch the slides, please. And then transactional data flow. So this is, as transactions occur in SDMO, how do they transfer over to Sage Intacct? And so this top half you'll see are invoices, credit memos, purchase invoice, purchase credits. Those will flow over to the AR and AP modules as invoices or bills. And so this allows the accounting team to do cash receipts or do bill pay. It all flows over to Intacct at that level. All of the other transactions that you see here, so shipments, returns, inventory-based transactions is I guess what I would call them, those will generate journal entries that can either be manually pushed to Intacct or can be scheduled to push on a regular basis. And those are going to come over to Intacct as journal entries. And so again, at the beginning of my presentation, I had really talked about the separation of your distribution and manufacturing team from the accounting team. And this is where you can really see this really come together. The inventory and manufacturing people can really focus on the things that they need to worry about without having access to the accounting system to do their job. So it really does allow for a nice split for that. And so at this point, this actually concludes our webinar for today. I hope you've learned a lot about SDMO. If you'd like to learn more, we do have upcoming webinars. So you'll see here we have one next week on Sage Intacct highlights. We have a SDMO website, or not website, but webinar coming up on March 12th. That's going to focus on the distribution features of SDMO. And then we've got the financial reporting. And Heather, if you can head out to our website real quick. All right, so on our website, if you go to stewarttechnologies.com, go to resources. Any upcoming webinars we have are always located under resources, upcoming webinars. And so when I click on this, you'll see I've got the webinars that we have coming up. Once our webinars are done, we always put them under recorded webinars. And we have quite a breadth of content that we've done over the years. So you're welcome to look at anything that we've done. But for upcoming webinars, I just wanted to share March 12th, we have one on distribution. And then April 10th, we're going to be covering the manufacturing components of SDMO. And if you're interested, you can just click on the view detail and register for the webinar right from the website. So I did want to just thank you for your time today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Jessica. Heather, if you want to put that last slide up for me. And here's our Jessica's information. Jessica is our customer success manager. You're welcome to call and book a welcome to click and book a call with her right from the slides, or reach out to us at stewarttechnologies.com. We'd love if you follow us on LinkedIn. We do all sorts of posts all the time on how to make your life efficient and run better when you're dealing with accounting software. So thank you so much for your time today, and I look forward to working with you in the future.